You've got Bill Clinton, who, while he was president, had sex with an intern in the Oval Office. You've got Bill Clinton, who paid off Paula Jones $850,000 for settling a sexual harassment case. While he was president, it didn't happen while he was president, but he paid her off while he was. None of that led to a criminal prosecution. And I would think many Americans, if they're just out of the toxic tribal loop, would go, well, surely even the Paula Jones one sounds a lot worse than a consensual fling with Stormy Daniels 20 years ago.
The flaw is that there was nothing illegal about Bill Clinton settling that lawsuit, and they were not campaign contributions disguised in this way, which was determined to be criminal. I think Trump will make himself a martyr either way. He's a victim of the system of elections being rigged. He's a victim of the justice system being rigged. He's a victim of the media rigging his microphone and the temperature in the debates. He's always going to be a victim of everything. They've lost everything since 2016, Piers.
We don't have a tradition of locking up the leading political candidate 5 months before the election, no matter who that candidate is or no matter what party they're part of. Not if you're a Republican, not if you're a Democrat, not if you're Green Party or Libertarian. Doesn't matter. That's not part of our tradition. That's not normal. We need to establish that. There is a tradition, however, that my fellow panelists may be part of, and that's called being a Stalinist.
I remember Donald Trump leading chants of lock her up about Hillary Clinton. Does that make him a Stalinist?
So did that happen is the question.
Yeah.
Crooked Hillary, wait. Crooked, you should lock her up, I'll tell you.
For what she's done, they should lock her up.
Lock her up is right. Lock up the Bidens. Lock up Hillary.
There's so much moving of the goalposts here in every case. Your other guest here, Mr. Johnson, whose work I'm not as familiar with as I would like to be, but he seems extremely high energy. He comes out shot out of a cannon saying Stalinist this and that, and nobody else was saying lock up. And then you play the montage of here's 6 times Trump said it, and he goes, well, he didn't act on it all of a sudden. He changes his own argument as they always do in every single one of these cases. Whatever they can get away with, you give them a piece of tape, Piers, and then they go, oh, but my argument's actually something different. That's the sort of fundamental nature of this, and it's pathetic.
Joe Biden is suffering some form of dementia. That was the clear conclusion from those who've been around him. And we see enough in public to suggest that may be the case. How comfortable are you that he is going to be fighting this election and potentially being president for 4 more years?
Well, worst case scenario, they both are struggling cognitively, in which case I'd much rather the people around Biden making decisions than the sycophants Trump would put around him, which, with no offense at all, are sort of versions of Benny Johnson, by the way. And the audience, I'm sure we could have a beer together, Benny, and have a great time, but it's not like I necessarily want the government run by people like you. So I think worst case scenario, they're both struggling. You know, at this point, I've interviewed 4 medical and mental health professionals, 2 from mental health, 2 from the neurology side. So far, they've all told me Joe Biden is experiencing age-related aging that you would expect for someone of his age. Trump seems to be seriously cognitively struggling, where he doesn't realize he's saying things that don't make sense. He doesn't realize that he's getting names completely wrong, stories that don't make sense, doesn't know who he ran against, doesn't know who he's running against, doesn't know who he ran against in 2016 or who's president right now. I mean, a level of confusion. And again, I'm neither a neurologist nor a mental health expert. This is what the mental health experts have told me. Now, I will say, I read the article. Some of the sourcing is people that MAGA Mike Johnson talked to. That's not super compelling to me. However, I do think Annie Linsky is a trustworthy reporter. I am not pretending this story isn't out there, and I cover it on my show today. I think it's a serious story.
If Donald Trump came out and said that his great uncle had been shot down and then eaten by cannibals, and it turned out that he hadn't been shot down or eaten by cannibals, you would probably lead a cry of, this man is not fit to be president, wouldn't you?
Yeah, maybe I would. I mean, Trump has made stuff up about his uncle developing nuclear weapons or something just as ridiculous. And so I think we have examples of both. I don't know that they're super compelling one way or the other.